Hello, hello, and welcome to episode 134 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast. I'm Christine.
And I'm Sam.
Hello, hello, everybody.
Yes, hello.
Hey, we're coming to you live from the path of totality.
Yes, we are.
And we had a superbly overcast day today to view the eclipse.
Yeah, ironically, the sky did not clear of clouds until about 20 minutes after the eclipse was over.
Yeah, it got really sunny and beautiful right after the eclipse.
So I thought that was great. You know, the universe is just laughing at us, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, so we went outside and looked up. We could not see the sun being eclipsed in any way, shape, or form because it was very, very cloudy. But the sky looked really cool. And then, like within seconds, it started to get dark.
Yeah, that was the coolest thing for me was that it became obviously darker very, very quickly.
Super quick. Not like when the sun goes down.
No, it went from cloudy spring afternoon to almost pitch dark nighttime in about 10 seconds.
Yeah, it seemed like about 10 seconds. And then where we live, we can look over Lake Erie.
Yeah.
And if you looked out over the lake, it looked like sunset. It was like the sky was like red and fiery.
Yep, deep orange.
Yeah,
it was really, really lovely.
So cool.
And so it hung out there for just a little while, couple of minutes.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we were making our way back to cloudy spring afternoon.
Yeah, it was really cool. So then as the eclipse started to move away, we got little peeks of it.
Yes, we did.
Yes, and I ran inside and we grabbed our eclipse glasses and we did manage to see a little bit of it.
Yeah, so by the time, the sun kind of looked like a big smiley face.
Yeah.
Relative to the part of the moon that was covering it. We did get a clear glimpse of that through our eclipse viewing glasses. Which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But still just the overall sense of darkening and then lightening, I think, was the coolest part of it.
It was cool.
For me.
Yeah, the robins were doing they do that nighttime song that they do right at sunset. And they were doing that. So they were obviously affected by the level of light and
For
stuff.
sure.
It was really cool. Our cats didn't seem to even notice.
No, they weren't fussed at all.
They're like, oh, it's getting dark in here. Did somebody turn out the lights?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, they were all good.
Yeah. I was curious to see if they would react in any strange sort of way, but they really didn't.
No, I didn't notice anything weird.
So yesterday, speaking of eclipses, we attended the Penelope's Place Out of This World Solar Eclipse fundraiser at the Vegan Center.
Yes, we did.
What just an amazing event that they put together.
It was really lovely. It was very nice.
Oh my gosh. First of all, your ticket included a beef on wick sandwich. And if you're not from the Buffalo area, it's kind of like a roast beef sandwich, but this was, of course, made with seitan. This is all vegan. And a generous helping of French fries with which you could top with all these things on they had like a French fry bar.
Yes.
That was fun.
Yeah, so you could put everything from, like almost nacho toppings, like black beans and Gardein crumbles and cheese and salsa and sour cream, cheese sauce, to, I'm trying to think, there were some bacon bits.
Yeah, I went kind of like the poutine route. I put a little bit of gravy. They had some, what looked like follow your heart feta. So I put a little bit of that. I put sour cream. What else did I put? A little bit of cheese, a little bit of vegan cheese. It was really good.
Yeah, I went more the nachos route. I did salsa and green onions and black olives and a little bit of the Gardein crumbles, tiny bit of the cheese sauce. So I went more in the nachos route.
Yeah, you did. That's funny. Anyway, that was great. And then they also had baked goods donated by several local vegan bakeries.
Yes.
So we got cinnamon roll.
Which we have not tried
yet.
Which
was made and donated by the vegan grocery store. They make them there on the premises. We got a brownie.
From Long Weekend.
Which
we had this afternoon.
We got, what else did we get? Oh, we got a cupcake, these cute cupcakes. I want to say the cupcakes were made by Fig Tree Patisserie, but I'm not 100%.
I believe that's true.
Not 100%. But these cupcakes were made to look like the plant from Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh my gosh.
Which, if you're not aware, was a plant that was purchased during a total solar eclipse.
Yes.
And became a carnivorous plant,
yes,
so to speak.
And so Audrey, the plant, was made out of several colors of buttercream and a halved strawberry.
They were so cute.
They were absolutely adorable.
Yeah.
I'm sure Christine got a picture, and I'm sure she'll put it up on the socials.
I
all
did.
of that.
I actually posted a reel of
there you go.
everything we're talking about on our social media if you want to check that out. Yeah. Also, lots and lots of raffle baskets that you could put a ticket in for if you wanted to be involved in the raffle. There was somebody doing really cool hair braiding.
Yep.
Which is fun.
Yes.
There was somebody selling edibles, THC brownies and cookies. And so if that's your jam, there was some of that for you. And live music.
Absolutely. We had the Total Eclipse Trio.
Yeah. And that is their name. That was always their name, their band name.
It wasn't just, chosen for the event.
Yeah.
And was actually part of the reason why Vanessa, the founder and owner of Penelope's Place, wanted that particular band.
Yeah. And they were fun. It was a good time. I wish we could have stayed a little longer, but we also felt like we needed to make space for some of the newer people coming in.
Yep.
There wasn't a whole lot of seating, especially where people were eating food.
Right.
So we had other things we had to do also yesterday evening, but we had a really great time.
We did. It was
time
lovely.
that we spent there. I got a T-shirt. I got a sticker along with all the foods that we bought. Yeah. So thank you so much to Vanessa and Penelope's Place and Marcy there at the Vegan Center. It was a really well done. Oh, one other thing I forgot. We got some cosmic sourdough bread made by the Planty Baker, which we have not cut into yet.
Which I'm really looking forward to.
Yes. And when you slice it, like inside is supposed to look like a galaxy. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yes. And Ray has asked us to be sure to take pictures when we slice into it.
He wants to see what it looks like on the inside.
Yeah. So we'll make sure that we do that.
Yeah.
But one of the other things that I thought was kind of cool at the fundraiser was that on the tables where people were sitting and having their meal was a list of fun facts.
Oh, yeah, fun facts. We love fun facts.
Of course we do. They're fun.
Come on, these are fun facts, guys. Let's have fun with them.
So I thought that I would share some of these, of course, eclipse-related fun facts with you. So first we have, during a total solar eclipse, which is what we had today, the moon's shadow moves across the Earth at more than 1,000 miles per hour, which is faster than the speed of sound.
Wow. And I was amazed at how quickly the shadow was moving in front of the sun.
Yeah. It was visible how quickly it was moving. So that was really cool. A solar eclipse can only occur during a new moon, and a lunar eclipse can only occur during a full moon.
Okay.
Which is something I did not know.
Yeah, we did recently have a lunar eclipse also.
Yep.
A week or two ago.
Yeah. The temperature can drop 10 degrees or more during a total solar eclipse.
I felt the temperature drop, definitely.
Did you? I really didn't.
I did. Well, I was in my T-shirt.
Fair point.
You had a sweatshirt on?
I did.
Totally felt it get cold when it got dark.
Okay, cool. I didn't feel that as much, but
yeah,
I'm glad that you did. Next, we have, as the partial eclipse progresses and the sky darkens, birds will begin their early evening routine of flocking and swarming and chirping loudly.
Yeah.
As we plunge into the darkness of totality, birds will then land and go quiet.
It's true. It was very quiet. It got very quiet, aside from us. Going,
right.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah, we were not quiet. The birds, however, were.
Yeah.
Now, this next piece of information, we actually didn't get to witness this because, again, it was very cloudy and overcast here today. But Venus and Jupiter will be visible during a portion of the eclipse.
I know. I'm so bummed that it wasn't clear skies, because then you can see the stars and the planets
Yeah.
If not for just like brief moments, you can see them in the sky during the day, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
But
totally cool.
We, alas, could not see them through the cloud cover.
No. Now, for those of you who are thinking, oh, bummer, I missed this one, I'll just hang around for the next one.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much, or at least not here, because a total solar eclipse takes about 375 years to happen again in the same location.
In the same path of totality.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for the sun to have this same path of totality that it had today would take about 375 years.
Yeah.
And barring some really phenomenal medical advances,
Right.
I really doubt any of us will be around.
Yeah, I doubt that we'll be around to see that. There probably will be a partial one that we'll be able to view sometime in the future, but
sure.
Yeah,
I think that's maybe another 20 to 22 years.
Something like
out.
that. I know there was a
like
partial, I think in 2017, there was a partial.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That we could view. It all depends on where you are.
Yes.
In
it
the
does.
world.
So, we may not be right here in 20 years. We
Right.
might be somewhere else.
Yeah.
So,
But anyway, I hope some of you were able to see the solar eclipse or maybe even view it. I know NASA was doing like live feed, so you could watch it that way if you wanted to.
oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Anyway, it was cool.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
We have anything else to talk about what we've been up to?
Not really. It's been a pretty chill week.
Yeah, it really kind of has.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Very nice.
I kind of like that.
Me too.
Not so chill that I managed to get my poop in a group enough to get a recipe done.
Did you just say get your poop in a group?
I did. I'm trying to keep it clean.
Okay,
I
17
couldn't get my
years.
ass together enough to have a recipe for you this week.
17 years I have known this human sitting across from me, and I have never heard her say that before.
Well, I said it.
This is a new one.
Yeah. Anyway, the point is, no recipe. Sorry. I'll try and get on it for next week. I really will.
You'll
really
do it.
will. So let's just move on to this week's Noteworthy segment. What is noteworthy this week? Something really cool is noteworthy, and if I was a young person, I'd be hopping on this. PETA is looking for young activists for their summer outreach tour.
Yes, and so today PETA 2 asks, will you be part of PETA 2's summer outreach crew? PETA 2 is hitting the road again this summer to fight for animal rights, and we're looking for our next outreach crew. At the Vans Warped Tour, Riot Fest, Safe in Sound, Playlist Live, Breakaway Festivals, and so many others, PETA 2 teams have inspired hundreds of thousands of young people to take action via our mobile campaigns, collected millions of petition signatures, and distributed tons of info about how to speak up for animals all over the country. Now we're hiring a new team to travel to some of the biggest festivals of the summer to rep PETA 2 and make a difference for the animals who need it most. If it sounds like you'd be getting paid to have the time of your life, you're right, but it's not all fun and games. Expect to work hard, spend long hours on your feet, and lose your voice at least once. You'll talk to people in all different kinds of environments, reach challenging goals, set up and break down the PETA 2 tent each day, and drive from city to city each night. If you love activism, music, and travel, are a problem solver, work well on a team, and are looking for your chance to get loud for animals, we want you. What are you waiting for?
And we will include a link in our show notes to any of our younger listeners that might be interested in joining this, because like I said, if I was younger, this sounds like this would be a blast.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Going to music festivals and talking to people about veganism.
If I was 30 years younger, absolutely.
Yep.
Yes.
I don't think they would have us.
Probably not. We're not young and cute enough.
Right. If you're young and cute, I'm telling you, click the link in our show notes and join PETA 2 for their summer tour, because actually familiar with another vegan activist who is no longer of the age that PETA 2 is looking for, but started his career in activism doing exactly this. And he said it was one of the most rewarding things that he's ever done in his life. So click that link if you're interested.
Absolutely. And if, being on the PETA 2 team for the summer isn't in the books for you or on the books for you this summer, that's okay. You can text PETA 2 to 30933. And PETA 2 will hook you up with other ways to help animals, send tips on compassionate living, and a whole lot more. I also want to toss out there a couple of things while we're in our noteworthy realm.
Okay, what else is noteworthy?
This year's second, of course, of 4 quarterly veg news dropped just recently.
Yep, got it in the mailbox today.
We sure did. And so this issue is, of course, because the spring issue always does, deals with the best of vegan. And so this is the Best of Vegan 2023 issue. I've checked out a few of the listings and there's some good stuff going on in there. They're also doing a list of the 88 best vegan restaurants in America.
That's fun.
Which I think is pretty fantastic. There are also articles in there about vegan Mumbai, which I can't wait to read. I haven't read the whole article yet, but that's right up my alley. So looking forward to that. And also I wanted to toss out there in interest of summer vegan things happening. Mm-hmm. It is the 50th anniversary of Vegan Summerfest. Now, Vegan Summerfest is a 5-day event that celebrates healthy, compassionate vegan living. And they will be hosting over 40 informative and inspiring speakers, including Neil Barnard, Alan Goldhamer, Michael Greger, Matthew Laderman, Victoria Moran, and Kim Williams. So that's quite a lineup.
Yeah, there's some big names up in there.
Big names up in there. And so that will be happening July 10th through 14th in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. If you're interested in that, you can check it out at vegansummerfest.org.
Sounds like a blast.
It really does.
Johnstown, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Johnstown is outside of Philadelphia, is it not?
I think it's outside of Pittsburgh.
Oh, is it really?
I think so.
That close?
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Maybe we'll look into that.
Yeah, we'll have to look into it. See.
And we might touch on those best ofs in next week's episode.
We just might.
Yeah, because that could be some good information.
It could be fun stuff.
Going to move on to our main topic. This week's main topic is a movie review, and this week we are reviewing the documentary The Smell of Money.
They are poisoning our soil, poisoning our groundwater, poisoning people, fellow Americans. They are stealing from them in the present and stealing from future generations.
If it does not touch you in an emotional way, if you really get in to look at this issue, whether it's from an environmental standpoint, an animal rights issue, whether it's a human rights issue, whether it's an antibiotic use issue, if you can walk away from this saying, no big deal, you need to come talk to me. Let me take you for 3 days and let you sit down and talk to these people who have to live with this every day. Matter of fact, let me let you live in their shoes for a day and see if it doesn't change your mind.
And we actually just watched it. Literally a few minutes ago.
Moments ago, yeah. The Smell of Money is a documentary that follows Elsie Herring and her rural North Carolina community as they take on the multi-billion-dollar pork industry, mainly Smithfield farms. You know, it always kind of irks me a little bit that these companies have the word farms in their name because there is nothing farm about what's going on in The Smell of Money.
It's again just... the reality of corporate marketing, because when you hear farm, you don't think of a CAFO.
Right.
You hear the word farm, you think of the kind of family farm that used to be the cornerstone of the farming industry in the United States.
Yeah, exactly. You don't think of CAFOs. What CAFOs are these rows and rows of giant buildings housing thousands of animals. And Smithfield, in this case, was raising pigs and chickens on these CAFO farms. And the film follows some of the residents of the land surrounding these farms in North Carolina that has been in these families since Civil War times.
Yes.
Like some of the people they interview, their father bought that land right after he was a freed slave.
Yes.
And they've been living on this land since then.
Yes.
Their families, generation after generation.
120 years.
Yeah,
Yes.
and these CAFOs are forcing them off of their land, kind of stealing some of their land, it seemed like in some cases. And then they have, I don't know if you've seen it, these giant lagoons.
Let's call them what they are.
Yeah, they're cesspools of animal feces and urine that, I mean, they're huge.
Yes.
That are open air. And then on top of that, having these open air cesspools, they spray this stuff.
Because eventually, of course, the lagoons fill up.
Yeah, they start to overflow. So they spray them under the guise of fertilizing crops. But you don't see any crops around there. They're just spraying the land.
They're just spraying the fields.
Yeah. And the people living, sometimes, what was that one woman's, 8 feet?
Yeah.
Her property abutted their property by 8 feet.
Yes.
And when they spray the contents of these cesspools, it's like rain. It's like raining down on them.
Yep.
It's horrid.
Yes. It gets
Horrid.
into their homes, on the walls, on the appliances.
Yeah.
And of course, we're not talking about at this point like literal fecal material because it's been aerosolized.
Yeah.
But we're talking about all of the bacteria that is associated with that material. And so some really dangerous pathogens are being launched literally into people's homes on a regular basis.
Yeah, and so many of them with breathing issues. They have asthma, they have cancer, they have all of these terrible health issues because of all of this.
Yes.
Now, these people came together and took on Smithfield in, I think, several lawsuits, maybe 4 or 5 different lawsuits.
This particular movie followed 5 lawsuits.
And how they approached it was nuisance lawsuits.
Yes.
Because none of the other things could they fight because the laws protect these organizations.
Well, yeah, the law is written to protect industry.
Yeah.
And it is written into North Carolina law that these cesspools and irrigation systems are legal.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to approach it in terms of the company was essentially a nuisance to their neighborhoods and their way of life because of the bacterial encroachment, because of their inability to enjoy their property, because of the smell, because of the fecal rain that they are having to endure, and of course the numerous health problems that come along with this. Now, of course, the people who are involved in this lawsuit are exactly who you think they are. They are people of color. They are people of low socioeconomic backgrounds.
Yes, and the film does tackle this environmental racism issue also.
Yes, because that is exactly what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is no other way to frame it.
No, absolutely. At one point, they showed a map of where
the most slaves had been held.
The most slaves
in South Carolina
were held.
Sorry, North Carolina.
Yeah, where they were living and where they eventually settled. Mm-hmm. And then, they compared that to with where these companies are putting these CAFOs. Exactly the same.
Yeah, almost identical.
Yeah, exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could predict where the CAFOs are going to go by finding out where these slave communities ended up settling in the United States.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Oh, reprehensible. Absolutely reprehensible.
And luckily they had a judge that understood that.
Yes.
And said, look, if there were people of affluent means living anywhere near where this is going on,
this problem would have been solved a long time
would have been
ago.
solved. And this fight, the people fighting this fight, they've been doing it for 30 some odd years.
Mm-hmm. And it's ongoing.
Still ongoing.
Yes.
Yeah, because all that's happening is Smithfield is paying out millions of dollars.
Right.
Nothing's changing. They're not changing the way they do business.
Mm-hmm.
They're just paying people off and paying people off.
Right. So within these first 5 lawsuits that were won by the plaintiffs, then appealed by Smithfield, of course. And then those rulings were upheld by the appellate court, which I thought was phenomenal. Smithfield is paying out judgments of $550 million, which of course is not a whole lot to a company like Smithfield.
Not
in the long run. It's a drop in the bucket, exactly. And the film ends in 2021. The lawsuits were settled in 2020.
Right.
And the film ends in 2021. And unfortunately, Elsie Herring, who was kind of the central figure of the film, among others, but she was at the core of things because we were following her activism in North Carolina and across the country to raise awareness of these issues. She unfortunately died of pancreatic cancer, which can be linked to air pollution.
Yeah, and she died prior to receiving any money.
Yes.
From Smithfield.
Yes, she did.
Which is a crying shame.
It's a tragedy.
And, she even said the money would be nice, but
what are you going to do?
Yeah, I want it to stop.
Yes.
I want what they're doing to stop. And one thing I noticed is these communities, it really seems like they need to get youth in those communities involved. A lot of the meetings that they filmed and a lot of the people that they spoke to were older people who were, fighting this fight. And I kept thinking, where are the young people? They did have a couple of shots of some of her grandnieces and nephews. But they were, little people.
Yeah, they were really
Where
young.
are the in-between people? That's what I want to know.
Where are the teenagers?
Where are the teenagers?
The ones in their early 20s?
Where are the 20s and 30s of these communities? Because these people need to continue this fight.
Absolutely.
It won't end unless they continue to fight.
That's right.
The judge in the final lawsuit also made a couple of statements that surprised me, where he talked about the animals involved.
Yes.
And how he sympathized with the animals involved, stating, we know that some people just think of them as things, they're just animals and they're ugly.
And we can do whatever we want with them.
Yeah, and we can do whatever we want with them. But I appreciated that this older Southern judge even mentioned that, because he didn't need to mention that.
No, he didn't. And I was impressed with that as well.
Yeah.
I certainly wish that more people held that view,
right?
That the inhumane treatment of the animals in contained animal feeding operations, or CAFOs, would be more specifically addressed and would be considered more egregious than it currently is.
Yeah, especially they showed footage from Hurricane Florence, and of course all of these farms flooded to the point where many, if not all, of the animals in these buildings drowned.
Yes.
They did have a couple of scenes of some pigs swimming, but it was just like 2 or 3 pigs. The rest of them all drowned.
Yes.
And so now these people, not only are they surrounded by these farms and these terrible cesspools full of waste, now they're surrounded by feet of water filled with dead animals and all the waste involved with that. And it was a disaster area, just a disaster area. But when it all finally was cleaned up, they just went back to business as usual.
Yeah.
More animals were brought in.
And one of the contributors to the documentary mentioned that as well, that, a tragedy like Florence happens and, more than 50 hog operations are underwater and thousands of animals die, and there's a massive cleanup. And for a little while, there's talk of, okay, now we get to fix this.
Right.
Like, let's change it. Let's make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
But then repairs happen to the buildings, animals go back in, everyone kind of forgets.
Yeah, it's business as usual.
And it goes back to business as usual instead of, using a tragedy like a hurricane to affect palpable positive change.
Yeah. There was one impressive gentleman, one of the very few hog farmers that's willing to speak out, because people associate Smithfield and the hog farming community there. They actually compared them to the mafia. that they're
Yes.
afraid for their lives to speak out. Well, this one hog farmer is willing and probably still willing to speak out against what he's doing to make a living. And apparently before he got into hog farming, he was a tobacco farmer.
Yeah.
So he said he went from killing people with tobacco to now killing people and ruining their lives with these hog farms.
Yeah.
And he's looking into farming mushrooms. And I really hope that happens for him, that he can figure out a way to transition, because these farms are just like the Purdue chicken farms that you hear about. They're contracted. So these farmers, they're not getting rich. They're contracted. They get the pigs from Smithfield.
They get the feed.
Yeah, they get the feed, which they don't know what's in, and they're not allowed to know what's in it because it's proprietary information. And then they're, equipped with all the stuff, and they do all the work, and Smithfield reaps all of the benefit.
Yes.
And they eke by as farmers.
That's correct.
So, I don't know how other vegans feel about farmers, but I can tell you how I feel about farmers, that I feel for them.
Oh, I do too.
That they're between a rock and a hard place right now.
Yeah.
The way the system is rigged, that it's like they can't get out. They're stuck in this horrible system. They're not getting rich.
No.
They're barely making a living. And it's horrible work.
Yeah. We talk about the evils of factory farming. We are not talking about the farmers as being evil.
Yeah.
That's not a question. They're people like any of us, and they are people who are trying to make a living.
Yeah.
And, we've said before on the podcast that we try not to judge how people make their living.
Right.
And so, yes, many of these farmers who are contracted to big companies like Smithfield, like Purdue, they are just getting by because they have to put out an incredible amount of investment up front to build the buildings, to have the infrastructure to care for all of these animals. That is not taken care of by the corporation. The farmer is responsible for that.
Yeah.
And then in come the pigs or the chickens, and in come the feed. But it all belongs at that point to the corporation, to the parent company, not to the individual producer. So, we have deep sympathy for the farmers.
Yeah.
Do we wish they would not do what they're doing? Of course, obviously.
Absolutely.
But, we also understand that they are in an intolerable position as well.
Yeah. Interestingly, Smithfield is not responsible for the removal or the maintenance of waste of any kind.
Of course not.
They leave that up to the farmer.
Yep.
So what is the farmer supposed to do? How do you get rid of millions of gallons of animal waste? There's no other way, right? Because you don't have the means to build a septic system, an underground septic system to
not of that size.
Yeah, to
Good
treat
heavens,
the
no.
waste. I mean, these what they call lagoons, these septic system or these cesspools, they're bigger than football fields.
Yeah.
They're huge, right? So they don't have any. So Smithfield doesn't have any responsibility where the waste is concerned, which is wow. How did they let that happen?
Well, I don't think that's at all surprising.
Yeah. The regulatory commissions that control this kind of stuff, they're in the pockets
Certainly.
of these big multinational corporations. Another thing is Smithfield is a lot of it's owned by Chinese companies.
Yes.
It's not even an American company anymore.
No, it's not.
So a lot, and it's funny because the spokespeople for Smithfield will get out there and they'll tell people, hey, this is your food source. We're providing food for America, when probably a good portion of the flesh from those poor animals is going overseas. It's going to China.
Yes.
It's going other places.
Yes.
It's not feeding America.
No. I mean, the argument that is occasionally put forward for the value of these operations is that we are feeding the world. I don't buy it.
They're poisoning the world. They're poisoning the world not only with the waste and all that stuff, but they're poisoning the world by having people eat these animals.
Yes.
And then become sick with diabetes and heart disease. And so, no, they're not feeding the world. They're poisoning the world.
Right.
They're making the world sick.
Yes.
Not only environmentally, but, physically, medically.
And of course, it comes back to if You want these companies to change what they're doing, to feel enough pain in their pockets that they will change what they're doing. You need to not buy their products.
Yeah, and they said that blatantly in the film. They said, look, it's in the hands of the consumer at this point. If you tell Smithfield you no longer want their product, things will change.
Yes.
And I know sometimes it's hard to believe that as consumers that we can make a real difference at the grocery store. But if enough of us say, that's enough. I don't need to be purchasing this. This is a terrible industry, and it's hurting not only the animals involved, but the people who are forced to live where these animals are raised and slaughtered. It's ruining their lives. They can't do normal things. They can't go out and have a cookout.
Yep.
They can't hang their laundry on the line.
Yep.
They can't, and now they can't breathe.
Yep.
Or live healthily. They're strapped by medical bills, so they can't afford to move.
Nope.
And
I'm sorry, but if you were on the same piece of land since your grandfather purchased it after being freed from slavery,
right,
and had amassed enough resources to buy a 15-acre plot of land in 1891.
Yeah, you're just going to walk away from that?
And then another 45 acres 10 years later.
Right.
How do you walk away from that?
You can't walk. That's your, that's your heritage. That's
exactly.
your history.
And so I just can't imagine. It's just so, it's not that simple that even if you had the resources, just, stand up, get up, walk away. It's not that simple. For some of us, yes, we can just move somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like I would not feel like I was leaving anything truly important behind if we picked up and moved somewhere else.
Yeah.
But for these people, again, whose family history and a deep, rich history is attached to the land that they live on, that's not small.
No, not at all. And I think that people on the face of all this would just say, well, if it's so horrible, just move. But these are the reasons why people don't just pick up and leave.
Right.
They're financially strapped, so they can't. And like Sam said, there's this attachment to the land.
They want to stay and fight for their homes.
And who wouldn't?
Yeah.
When you're living in a house that your grandfather built, that your parents lived in, that you were raised in with your siblings, and it goes back into your families, since Civil War era, it's just incredible that people would think that they could just pick up and leave.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I think what this underlined for me more than anything else, because we didn't learn anything new, really, in this documentary.
We didn't, no, but I think a lot of people
I think a lot of people will.
Yeah, I think it could be very eye-opening.
Yes, I think it could be very impactful. But this is information that we have heard and seen before. So I think for me, what it really underlined was the need to know where the things you buy come from and what the real price of those things is.
Yeah. What are the ramifications of you picking up a pound of bacon at the grocery store?
And who is paying that price?
Who's paying the price?
Is that price worth it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that this film illustrates that beautifully.
Yes, it does.
That people's lives are being terribly impacted by these multinational corporations, and
that are producing a product that we not only don't need, but that is actively causing harm.
Yeah. I think it was a very well done film. It's beautifully filmed. The cinematography is great. I think they interviewed some people that we've seen in other documentaries, but the interviews were more in depth and kind of hit more close to home, especially since during the filming, two of the main people fighting this fight perished.
Yes.
And so they were at their funerals, and we got to hear people talk about them at their funerals and eulogize them. And it really, I think it hits home that these people have lived their entire lives living with this.
And fighting it.
Fighting it, and then dying because of it. I think it really hit home. I think they did a a great job of honoring the people that were fighting this fight. And I think everybody should see this film. I rented it on YouTube, I think for like $3 or $4. I don't think it's on any of the streaming services, but it is available at Amazon to rent and on YouTube to rent for just a few dollars.
Yep, definitely worth it.
Yeah, I will put a link to the YouTube version of this if you would like to watch it for yourself. It's a very well-made documentary. Now, I would ask the question, as we always do when we review a film, would you call this film a vegan documentary?
Not specifically, no.
No?
I wouldn't.
I would say that this film could definitely influence people to consider
sure.
veganism.
Anytime you're looking at a film and it's giving you information that might change your choices, might change your actions, might push you a little bit closer to something different. In this case, veganism. Mm-hmm. In fact, the word vegan was only spoken once in the entire film.
That's true.
And it was spoken by someone who said, I'm not recommending that people become vegetarians or become vegans.
Right.
But... And then he goes on to say that Americans in particular tend to consume animal products at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yeah. And that if we're going to have a snack at night, it's bacon-flavored ice cream.
That's right. He did say that.
And he said, which, ew, by the way, can you just say that?
Yeah.
And after that, he just said, so knock it off.
Just stop it.
Just stop it.
Yeah.
And he wasn't talking about going vegan, going vegetarian. He was talking about reducing the amount of animal flesh that we consume. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of Americans, choosing to eat meat or dairy or eggs at 1 meal a day instead of 3, that in itself would be huge.
If everybody did that.
If everybody did
that, it would make a difference.
So no, I would not consider this a vegan documentary because the word is not said. The philosophy, this wasn't about animal rights. It wasn't about animal liberation. It wasn't about reducing cruelty to animals. It was about reducing injustice in the world, specifically towards these communities that are stuck next to these CAFOs.
Yeah.
So no, I would not call it a vegan film.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't either.
But if that information is something, or if this version of information, if this is the one thing that flips the switch in somebody that says, you know what, I can't support this anymore, I'm no longer going to eat meat.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, and one of the residents who lives near these hog farms, she said she no longer eats meat. She said, how could I eat meat when I see what goes on?
And I know where it comes from.
Yeah.
That's right.
She sees what goes on, and they showed like dumpsters filled with dead animals and that they just leave out in the open. And, the trucks going by constantly filled with animals. And yeah, how could you continue to consume animals when you see what's going on?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I, too, would not call this a vegan documentary, but definitely an influential one.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I highly recommend.
And like I said, we'll put a link in the show notes. If you would like to check this out for yourself, I'll put a link there so you can do that. So let's move on to a helpful tip so that you can encourage others to go vegan and stay vegan. First tip, watch this movie. Tell people to watch this movie. Second tip,
let's celebrate progress. It's great when you can celebrate any progress made by non-vegans, whether it's trying a new vegan recipe, reducing their consumption of animal products, or making a commitment to go vegan even part-time. Positive reinforcement can help reinforce their motivation and commitment to making additional positive changes.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Well, we would love it if everybody would just tomorrow go vegan.
That'd be cool.
Get rid of any animal products in their refrigerator or in their cupboards. We would love it, but it's not really a realistic ask.
No.
for everyone to do that. So yeah, celebrate the small things. If somebody in your family says, yeah, we're doing a meatless Monday, or yes, we're definitely trying to reduce the amount of animal products in our diet, then, encourage that. Encourage that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. In any way that you can.
It's now time for our favorite part of the show.
Must be listener shout out time.
It's listener shout out.
Just want to give a shout out to all my fans watching. I love you guys. I love you.
This week's listener shout out goes to Kate Borowiak. Kate is a vocal member of the Buffalo chapter of Anonymous for the Voiceless, a very active member of her vegan community, and of course, an animal lover. Thanks for listening, Kate.
Yeah, thanks for listening, Kate, and contact us with your t-shirt size and address so we can send you a Compassion and Cucumbers swag bag. You can either email that to us at compassionandcucumbers@gmail.com or DM us on Instagram or send us a private message on Facebook.
And for the rest of you out there, if you'd like a listener shout out, please email or DM us. Let us know what you think of the show and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I don't know why you wouldn't.
Neither do I.
I would. I'd do it. If I wasn't already here.
Right. Yeah. It'd be a little redundant in your case.
Hey, let's talk about our vegan org of the week. What's this week's vegan org of the week?
This week we are celebrating Sea Shepherd. While not technically a vegan organization, Sea Shepherd's sole mission is to protect and conserve the world's oceans and marine wildlife. They work to defend all marine wildlife, from whales and dolphins to sharks and rays to fish and krill, without exception. Serving as the only fleet in the world whose sole purpose is to protect all marine wildlife, they are committed to the protection and enforcement of conservation law. Their model of engagement provides unique at-sea resources to assist, serve, and support developing coastal and island governments in the protection of their sovereign waters against illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. Sea Shepherd's primary goal is to greatly enhance a government's own capacity to patrol, monitor, and enforce their own laws.
Yeah, and if you'd like to learn more or donate and support Sea Shepherd, you can learn more at seashepherd.org. My gosh, it's time to wrap this up already.
It is.
Time just flies sometimes.
Sometimes.
All right, just a few calls to action for you. Like always, I'm asking you to please join the Agriculture Fairness Alliance Vegan Voter Hub. We always put the link in the show notes, so click on that link and join the Voter Hub. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app and subscribe to our YouTube. And thank you. I put the call out last week that we had 99 subscribers on YouTube. We now have 101.
Yes.
So a couple of you listened and did the call to action. So thank you. So yeah, subscribe to on your podcasts and subscribe to us on YouTube and leave us a review and a rating if you want to. Also, send us your favorite vegan recipes. If I ever get around to cooking and talking about a recipe here again, which I'm sure I will, we would love to make your favorite vegan recipes. Now, these can be recipes that they're yours. These can be recipes that you found online. This could be something that your Aunt Margaret makes that you love and you veganized. Send them along. We'll make them and try them and talk about them on the show.
And with that, it's time to sign off. You have just listened to episode 134 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast, and there's nothing left to say but where cukes and compassion are always the fashion.
On the podcast. Thank you, James.
Have a great week, everyone.
Yeah, we'll talk to you next Tuesday.
We love you.
We do. Bye.
The end.
If you'd like to support the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast, well, you can do that by hopping on over to our Patreon page and becoming a patron. We have all the recipes from our vegan kitchen series up there, and we'll be adding some patron-only episodes in the near future. So thank you for supporting us at whatever level that you choose, and thank you again for listening to Compassion and Cucumbers podcast.